All right, everybody, strap in. This is gonna be a long one. So, Final Fantasy is out, everybody, and it's been a couple of days, so now we actually get to look at what prices are going to be for the cards in this set. Things that were pre-sailing for like $20 are now looking more like 20 cents, as is the basic way that cards always end up flowing in Magic the Gathering. So, because of that, I wanted to look and see which cards under $1 were worth picking up from the Final Fantasy set, and I hate myself. I just genuinely dislike the decisions I have chosen to make as an individual. Now, what do I mean when I say that? What I mean is that I, for some reason, thought that this would end up like every other video where it's 60 to 70 cards, and that's fine. That's fine. Instead, for some reason, it ended up being 143. Yeah. That's what happens when prices for cards plummet because there's so much in circulation. Yeah, I know. Places don't have enough Final Fantasy product to give to you and your, like, just half-eaten brother. I get that. But at the same time, the amount of product that is out there is enough to make sure that most of the cards in this set are dirt cheap. So, because of that, let's talk about a metric fuck ton of cards. Now, unfortunately, normally when a new set comes out, there's like 10 or 20 really cool commanders that you can pick from that are worth going for. And for this one, because it's Final Fantasy and each game has its own named important characters, there's 53. There's just 53 of these things. There's so many. There's too many. I can't begin to explain to you the problems with this. There's so many legendary creatures in this set, and so many of them are useful. Here, let me go ahead and give you just a benign example. This is Cloud of Darkness. This is a Golgari Mommy, okay? The Cloud of Darkness has flying, so it can be a Voltron commander because it's got evasion. It's got Particle Beam, so it can get rid of indestructible creatures by giving it -X, where X is the number of permanents in your graveyard. This is the kind of thing that looks innocuous. It can be a creature in the 99, but in my brain, I just see this as, oh, I can run a control deck and then just have this and blow up things on the board, and I can choose to blow up indestructible creatures by just blowing up my own commander with and then reanimating it, and then that will also get rid of indestructible creatures. Like, I see this as a powerful control piece. It's so good, and it doesn't help that Final Fantasy III is one of my favorite Final Fantasies. Voltron decks can use Giat, King of the Dwarves, since he gives you looting when you get equipments on the board. Ignis is a Farhaven elf with an upside, and then we have more creatures whose names I refuse to pronounce. But having white card draw based on artifacts dying is not something that every deck wants, but if you're running one of those like Mardu decks that aristocrat their artifact pieces away, then this is a perfect addition to those. You've already seen me put Gaius von Belzar in a lot of decks because he is a fantastic fleshbag marauder. Then we have Exodeth, the Void Warlock, who's got a very powerful ability. At the beginning of your end step, there are 6 more permanents in your graveyard. You get to turn him into the Neo Exodeth Dimension's End, who is a trampling creature with power equal to the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. In self-mill decks, he is just going to be another version of Yargulin Multani that has trample. Ambrosia can protect your important pieces when it touches the board. Ash Princess of Dalmasca can power up artifact strategies by letting you dig through your deck more. Ultimecia has one of the most wacky ways to get an extra turn that I've ever seen. Quistis Trepe, aside from being a just really, really strange sexual awakening for me when I was a child, also has the ability to Snapcaster Mage things out of your graveyard from the command zone. Reno and Rude, when they deal combat damage to a player, they can do stealing effects. Emperor of Palmecia has the ability to get you a lot of mana for Spellslinger decks and then transforms into a very, very powerful bomb for Spellslinger decks to hurt people. Whenever he attacks, he deals X damage to every opponent, where X is the number of non-creature, non-lands in your grave. Then we've got Fang and Vanille. These cards transform into Ragnarok when we have them together. Gladios allows us to have a very powerful land tutor ability from the command zone, and we can even use this in the 99 of, say, Gates decks or the new Town decks to get whatever land we want. Steiner is fantastic in the 99 or the front of a Voltron deck. Zidane, Tantalus Thief, should be a blink deck that steals things every single turn, generating treasures thanks to your thievery. Quina is just weird as hell, but any ability that says when you would make a token, make another token, can be broken so easily in Aristocrat decks. Like, it's just another Chatterfang, effectively, at that point. You've already seen me build Black Waltz Spellslinger, and you can make Queen Braun as another version of this same Spellslinger strategy. My Eshki deck is going to be getting a diamond weapon soon, but in the command zone, this is basically just an 8/8 for 2 mana that you can swing in willy-nilly. Give it any number of lure effects, and it can just destroy fields super easily. Edgar's draw effect is nasty, and in blink decks that have mana rocks, his draw effect can be even more well abused. Minyu the White Mage can be a head of a wonderful cleric deck, giving you a Voltron win con. Then the Street Thief is another fantastic one. It doesn't quite work with Outlaws, but whenever scouts, pirates, and or rogues deal combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library, and then you may cast it. I wish this card was a pirate or a rogue to work with outlaw strategies, but unfortunately it's not, but he can be the helm of his own pseudo-outlaw strategy. Tella the Great Sage is just what happens if you take that one Is It precon from Strixhaven and make its commander good. Then we have Balthair and Fran. This is a interesting vehicles commander that you can use. Stiltskin feels like a mono-white Zedru, which is interesting in its own right, and I'm sure you can think of something fun to do with this. He's also pretty fine in the 99 if you're playing like a curse deck or something. And then you've got Hope Estham. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent mills X cards where X is the life you've gained this turn. This, as a Soul Sisters commander, can be crippling to players' psyches. Golbez Crystal Collector is another fantastic artifact commander on display here, and Sin Spira's Punishment is just so massive. Look, whenever it enters or attacks, exile a permanent card from our graveyard at random, then create a token copy of that card. If the card is a land card, repeat the process. So you know what you do with this, right? You just have a deck chock full of some of the most powerful reanimation targets, and you use Sin Spara as a blink target. You swing in with it, and then you end your turn, and you blink it with either a Conjurer's Closet or a Thassa, and it will just get you such a massive board state. And if that board state is running tons, or if that deck is running tons of cards that can mill you out, that are not permanents, like don't run Stitcher Supplier in here because you'll just make a copy of Stitcher Supplier, you can end up having a very nasty board state very, very quickly. Make sure that every single creature in your deck is some 6 mana and higher behemoth that nobody wants to see hit the battlefield multiple times, and you are going to have a hell of a time in front of you. Put a Panharmonicon in here as well. All in all, I just think Sin Spira's Punishment is neat, and Sultai is my favorite color combination in Magic, so expect me to be putting together something for this soon. Then we have Firion Wild Rose Warrior. Equip creatures gain haste, and if a non-token equipment enters, make a token copy of it. That is just wild. That is just wild. Being able to have multiple copies of equipment on the battlefield that are all copies of each other. Yes, you sacrifice the equipment at the end of the turn, but it doesn't really matter if you're just going to be making sure that people die super quick. Noctis, Prince of Lucis, is another fantastic commander in this set. When we cast artifact spells from, we can do them from our graveyard by paying 3 life. Just so much shit you can do with that. Gilgamesh, Master at Arms, is another Voltron commander. There's a lot of really strong Voltron commanders in this set. It's weird. Sarah Fanon can be a new legendary Creatures Matters commander that flips over into a just fantastic fantastic anthem for all of your legendary creatures. Cypher is a very, very strange take on a card, not because of Cypher himself, but because he has another version of him in Squall Seed Mercenary. Now, in Final Fantasy VIII, these two are foils of each other, where Squall ends up trying to fight against Ultimecia and Sorceress Adele, and Cypher ends up siding with them through most of the story. So, like, I get why they gave these two the same double strike ability, but each of these does something different. When Squall hits players with his double strike ability, then you can return a permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. But because he's got double strike, he gets you 2 cards out of the graveyard. And Cypher does the same thing, but only for instants and sorceries, where he lets you recast them. I'm going to go ahead and give you a cheat sheet for Cypher. Do not try to put in powerful 3-mana instants and sorceries. No, 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 no. I think what you should be doing with Cypher is punching somebody in the face and then reanimating any of those instants and sorceries that say copy the next instant or sorcery that you would play. And then, on your main phase 2, cast a strong 5 or 6 mana instance or sorcery, where Cypher has effectively given you the ability to quadra-clone the thing. That is a nasty, nasty, nasty way to go about this. Imagine casting a big score and looking at your opponent and going, actually, it's 4 of them. So this is free. I didn't spend any mana on this, but I also got to draw 8 cards. And everybody just kind of stares at you and going, you discarded another copy spell to the graveyard, didn't you? And yeah, that's what happens with Cypher. You've already seen me build a Wandering Minstrel deck. It's just a spelunking in the command zone most of the time, and that is pretty cool. So Xenos' ability is super weird. He's got the My First Friend ability, which says that you pick a creature, everything gets neg2 except that creature, and then if that creature dies, he transforms into a dragon. And if in this form you pick an opponent, if that player loses the game, you win the game. This is like every problem of Voltron commanders solved all at once. He's got evasion, he 3-shots a person, and he's even got a small board wipe attached to him when he's in his other form. This thing is just kind of a beast. It's just kind of a beast. It's a massacre worm that can Voltron anyone, and I mean, you don't even have to have this guy in the command zone. He's just kind of weird. Then we've got Jill, Shiva's Dominant. This card is kind of weird, but I think you can make a pretty powerful deck around her. When she enters, you can return any non-land permanent to its owner's hand, so you can blink her to get more out of that ability. And then if you flip her into Shiva, then she can make it to where certain creatures cannot be blocked this turn. Just pick Shiva over and over again, and you can get Voltron damage out of her, and then has the Cold Snap ability. Tap all lands your opponent's control, and then exile Shiva and flip her back over into Jill. Honestly, using this as a mono blue Voltron commander where you're just stunning somebody over and over and over again, and you're using anthems to be your Voltron for her so that when she exiles herself and pops back onto the board, you're not actually losing any of the stuff on her, and then making sure that the ways you're giving her haste are going to be things like Lightning Greaves that are and Lava Spur Boots that do not cost a lot to equip. I think you could make something pretty solid out of this. Then we've got Sash Katsroy. When it enters, you may search your library for a bird or a basic land, reveal it, put it in your hand. Just think of bird decks. Just do a bird deck. That's all you got to do. Make chocobos. Tons of chocobos. Then we have Zonde the Dark Mage, getting 1/1 for every non-creature, non-land card in your graveyard. Again, lots of Voltron commanders this time around. That's just a self-mill commander that wants to see auras attached to it to give it different forms of evasion, and then it wants to punch somebody in the face for really, really hard. Zodiark the Umbral God makes everybody sacrifice half the non-gods they have when he comes out. Anytime a player sacrifices a creature, you put a 1/1 counter on it, and it's got indestructible. Again, just another Voltron commander. Arden the Usurper. Demons get Menace, Lifelink, and Haste, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to 1 creature from a graveyard, and then make a token copy of that card. Make it a 5/5 Black Demon. Note, this says creature from a graveyard, and it gives it haste. So if you're fighting a person who's using like an Atali or something, just yank that out of their graveyard, put it on your board, punch somebody in the face with it, and laugh maniacally. Yeah, he costs 8 mana, but you know what you have in mono black decks? Cabal Coffers and Cabal Stronghold. So I don't want to hear anybody complaining about this being a commander that costs too much. You're in mono black, you can literally shit out mana. You can, I promise you. Then We have Bartz and Boko, affinity for birds, and when you enter, each other bird deals combat damage or deals damage equal to its power to a creature an opponent controls. In a bird's tribal deck, chocobos are what it's meant for, but any bird's tribal deck, you shit this on the board, and then suddenly you're effectively board wiping people, and you get to ignore commander tax because of that affinity. It's just kind of nice. Dion Bahamut's Dominant is a very interesting Knight's tribal commander. I'll probably try building this on the channel. Then at Heart of, I do not want to pronounce that, I'm so sorry, but casting legendary spells letting you draw cards is fantastic in Legendary Creatures Matters decks. Kuja is a freaking amazing Spellslinger commander, giving you all kinds of black wizard tokens, and of course, if a wizard would deal damage to a player, it'll double that damage once you have gotten Kuja to turn into Trance Kuja. Just a very, very powerful card. Choco, Seeker of Paradise. A lot of people are really looking to build a Chocobo deck with this at the helm. Matoya, whenever you scry or surveil, draw a card. That is a busted-ass effect, and you know it. For 3 mana, being able to turn all ops and considers into divinations is just crazy. Just absolutely crazy. Ultima, Origin of Oblivion, is just a Forsaken Monument in the command zone. And finally, Seymour Flux. At the beginning of your upkeep, you can pay a life if you do draw a card. This is Phyrexian Arena in the command zone. And that does it for all the commanders from this set. I'm exhausted. I am actually exhausted going through those. Thank God everything else is going to be way easier for me here. So let's go ahead and talk about the cards that supplement other strategies from this set. Aristocrat strategies will be happy to have another Blood Artist effect they have access to. So any Aristocrat strategy that relies on you being on a strict budget now has access to Albed Salvagers. Also, it works for artifacts as well as creatures, which is just fantastic. Then, for said artifact decks, we have from Father to Son to get vehicles out of the deck. Instant Ramen, another iteration of the 2-mana artifact that touches the board and draws you a card and doesn't do a whole lot after that. Cargo Ship, Flying, Vigilance, and it can add mana to cast artifacts as well, so an artifact ramp piece. And Valkyrie, the aerial unit, has affinity for artifacts, and when this creature enters, you can surveil too. It's not quite a thought monitor, but it's very good as a supplementary piece to one. Blink decks can make use of Dragoon's Wyvern to make token creatures when you blink, and Namazu Trader to make treasures when you blink. And if you've ever played a powerful Blink deck, then you know that getting tiny iterative things with Blink is just the bread and butter of those strategies. Copy decks are going to really like using Realm Sketching, and really just most decks can use this. This is a ramp piece. This is a card that can create a token copy of anything at all. This is an sorcery, so it's easy to clone because it's way easier to copy instants and sorceries than it is to copy anything else in the game. I swear to God. For draw power, Opera Love Song can give us access to another Impulse Draw. Foulhorn decks and Nalshi decks are definitely going to like stuff like this. Laughing Mad is a Thrill of Possibilities that costs 1 more, but it gets flashback for it. And we got a few of those, actually. Resentful Revelation lets you, it's a curate that costs a little more for the flashback, but it's in black. And Dreams of Laguna is 1 more than an opt, but it has flashback. Decks like Lord of Nazgul and Talrand are really going to like decks, or we're really going to like cards like this, where they want to see multiple instants of sorceries casted over the course of the game. Triple Triad is a stolen strategy just on crack, and Memories Returning is one of the most interesting takes on a fact or fiction style card I've seen in a while. It's got flashback, which is great, but my big thing is playing the let's look at these cards and each of us pick one is just a fun way to do the effect. I'm not going to lie. For these next 15, I'm not going to go over the specifics on what they all do. I'll just show you some highlights. These are all the job select weapons that are available at $1 or less. And I think all of these are going to find places in particular decks. I said I would go over some of the highlights, so let's go over that real quick. Black Mage's Rod is going to be great for Spellslinger decks that really want more burn, because it is a non-creature spell, which decks like Ishtola are going to like, and, well, that's just fantastic to be able to put this on anything at all. But the cards that I think are going to see a lot of play and be interesting for me are cards like Summoner's Grimoire, Bard's Bow, and Warrior's Sword. The reason I think these are going to be great is there's a creature that is horrible, a deck that is just maligned in my local community and is just not that great at all. And that deck, of course, is Shishiro the Shattered Blade. I have seen people try to make this deck work multiple times, and it just never seems to work out very well. But now that we've got access to 4 Mirrodin and the Job Select system and Living Weapon, maybe some kind of deck that is able to marry the idea of creatures being modified and equipments touching the board all at once will be able to function here, and people will finally be able to play this in a form that is not just Enchantress Light 3.0. That's what I'm hoping out of the job system, personally. We have some powerful protection effects in Restoration Magic and Mughul's Valor as well. And then for ramp and land strategies, we've got a bunch of stuff. Town Greeter is the new Satyr Wayfinder. It even power creeps the Satyr Wayfinder a little bit. This is fantastic. White Auracite is a mana rock that removes things from the board. World Map is a second copy of Expedition Map while costing a little more. Side Quest Catch a Fish is an enchantment that allows you to not only replace itself with a draw, but also flip into a land, which is just one of the safest forms of ramp you can get. Poo Poo UFO is one of the many instances of a card that can tap and put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Tons of ways to abuse this in decks like Tatiova. Ring of the Lucy is a 4-mana rock that taps for 2. I love 4-mana rocks that tap for 2. There's all kinds of decks you can use this in. Then we have Blitzball, a 3-mana rock that also has a draw effect. Very, very interesting. Then we have Sabo Tender, a card that allows us to burn people for playing lands. We have like 3 or 4 of these in Magic the Gathering, and I love getting more of these so we can finally critical mass those effects. And Realm Reborn makes all of our permanents tap for a mana of any color. This is a interesting take on this effect because now we can use equipments and auras and just anything at all in order to get mana. And the Realm Reborn itself isn't a do-nothing enchantment. It in and of itself is a ramp piece because you pay 6 mana for it and then it can tap for a mana of any color, which is not nothing. Reanimation decks, especially aristocrat style ones, will be able to use Vincent's Limit Break, making a creature be gigantic and then die and then return on the battlefield. This is a lovely iteration on the Feign Death style effect. And then we have Evil Reawakened. Now, is this a great reanimation spell? Absolutely not. But the fact that you can reanimate a creature, give it 2 additional 1/1 counters, and it costs the same as every other reanimation spell that's ever been printed into Standard, I think it's going to find some uses personally, being able to get out big boss monsters and making them that much bigger. For our removal suites, we have hand removal in the form of Hectize. Every set has some type of burglar rat effect somewhere in it, and this is ours. Poison the Waters is a tiny board wipe that can also get rid of combo pieces in the hand. Airship Crash is the standard blow-up artifact enchantment of creature with flying spell, but this one has cycling, so we can actually replace it if we don't need it. Side Quest Hunt the Mark is effectively a Noxious Gearhulk. It enters the battlefield, it blows up a creature. If a creature dies, it makes a treasure token. If we have 3 treasure tokens, we turn it into the ultimate mark, and now it's just a Noxious Gearhulk. That's all it is. Then we have a Colosseum Behemoth. This can blow up artifacts or enchantments when it enters the battlefield, or draw us cards, and it's a 7/7 with trample. There's plenty of decks like Saheeli that are going to like to clone this thing and abuse it to the 9s. Then we have Swallowed by Leviathan, a great counterspell option, along with the sacrifice card, Lucio's Sacrifice, which also is a fantastic new card counterspell. Ultima is a fantastic new board wipe. I keep saying fantastic. I'm tired. I don't know why I'm doing that. Clash of the Icons is a new fight spell that we have access to that can also manipulate lore counters. Suplex is another version of a Braid. We trade instant speed for sorcery speed, but we gain the ability to exile our cards. And Overkill is a new way for Black to get rid of problematic indestructible creatures. We also have a bevy of summons that if you want to read them, you can pause on the video, but summon decks are going to be an interesting type of deck to see. For me personally, my favorite is going to be the Summon Leviathan and Bahamut Bahamut can't make it to this list because it costs too much, but Summon Leviathan can, and I like it because it's just a board wipe Leviathan that I get to run in my Leviathan deck. I adore board wipe Leviathans. Spellslinger strategies get access to the Black Mages from Mizdian Elder, cornered by Black Mages and Circle of Power, and some copying spells with Ether, so have fun with that. Another set of cards that I'm not going to look at all of them because they just are all the same thing are going to be the Towns. The Towns are the new gates in this set, and they are all, again, they're just gates. It's just gates. They're all just gates. Then there's Reach the Horizon, which is just this set's version of Circuitous Route. Trouble the Overworld, which is just 2 divinations glued together based on towns. Precious Wanderings, which can grab a basic land or a land card and put it on the battlefield tapped. It's an instant speed card as well, so I'm gonna be honest, this has some great uses in Simic decks because rampant growth but instant is not a bad trade-off. And then finally we have some cool Voltron pieces with item shopkeep granting a menace to a creature, weapons vendor allowing us to draw a card when it comes out, and allowing us to attach equipments for less, Excalibur 2 and Magitech Scythe, which are fantastic equipments in their own right. And there I go again saying the word fantastic over and over again. There's too many cards in this set, and I can't keep up with all of them. Holy shit. But there you go. I will have a link to all of these cards in the description below. My voice box is hurting. Going over that many cards at once is like going over a Planeswalker deck with all the extra text you end up having to read. That's why I don't build many Super Friends decks, guys. I don't like speaking about them. Anyways, I hope you found this resource useful, especially if you are wanting to get some of the cool Final Fantasy cards, but you're not wanting to spend those cool Final Fantasy prices. Dear God, this set is expensive. Don't buy a box of this set if you can help it. Just pick up singles. Like, just trust me. That said, let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe. Check out my Patreon, all that shit. I'm gonna go massage my voice. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full-time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Briskrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Limor Pinku, Love Bunny Games, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Aurora, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press, though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.